Hi there! Welcome to my first YouTube video, Life After Death, a philosophical analysis of Black Mirror's San Junipero. My name is Alexandra Thompson. I'm a fourth-year computer science student studying Philosophy 242, Science Fiction and Philosophy. Today, I'm taking a philosophical analysis of the thought experiment presented in the episode, as well as presenting my own take on it. First, a note on fair use. The fair dealing provisions in Section 29 of the Copyright Act permit dealing with copyright-protected work without permission from or payment to the copyright owner. In this video, for example, I will be using images and short clips for the purpose of research and philosophical study at the University of Toronto. First, let's talk about the story of San Junipero. The Netflix description reads, "In a seaside town in 1987, a shy young woman and an outgoing party girl strike up a powerful bond that seems to defy the laws of time and space." At first glance, the episode seems like a love story between two young women, Yorkie, who is shy and new to the city San Junipero, and Kelly, who is outgoing and loves to party. However, it is revealed that both women are actually much older than they appear, and that San Junipero is actually a program that they have transferred their consciousness to. In reality, Yorkie is completely disabled since the age of 21, and Kelly is a much older woman with a terminal disease and a deceased husband. Despite their differences and pressures on both sides, they eventually decide to transfer their consciousness to San Junipero after they die, where they can be with each other forever. The happy ending presented in this episode is not common to Black Mirror, as most times the episodes serve as a warning of technology gone wrong. In the second section of this video, I'm going to be explaining and presenting the thought experiment from San Junipero. Hypothetically, let's present someone faced with a similar situation that the characters in the episode have to deal with. The hypothetical individual in question is a person who has a limited amount of time left to live and are considering what to do at the end of their life. Here, they have two choices. The first is a mandatory choice in our current reality, to die and face the uncertainty of an afterlife. The second is to upload their consciousness to a server and experience afterlife in San Junipero forever. This is essentially the thought experiment presented in the episode, where one's consciousness will go after their physical body dies. Now, let's look at the perspectives of why certain people may choose one option over another. The first scenario is someone who is very religious, like Yorkie's family. They chose to reject San Junipero for the sake of following through on their beliefs. The next is someone who is emotionally attached to a person who has faced this dilemma. Likely, they will want to see their loved one on whichever route they chose, and will go with the route of person B. This is almost what Kelly did in the episode. She considered choosing the typical unknown afterlife over San Junipero, because her husband did. The last is a case very similar to Yorkie's. This is someone who did not have enough time or capabilities to live a moderately fulfilling life on Earth. Likely, they will want to experience several things they missed out on and choose San Junipero. This is exactly what Yorkie does in the show. The San Junipero thought experiment just presented provides both metaphysical and ethical questions. On the metaphysical side, we ask, what are the long-term effects of San Junipero, and what is lost by no longer having a physical body? On the ethical side, we ask, is Kelly allowed to move on from her family, and should Yorkie morally go against her family's will? For the final chapter of this YouTube video, I will take a strong opinion on the choice of whether or not to go to San Junipero, and use a metaphysical argument to back my claim. Coming back to our initial thought experiment, I will argue that for metaphysical purposes, one should never choose to go to San Junipero. I argue this because of concerns surrounding the long-term effects of one's consciousness being altered in the artificial afterlife. For the purposes of this debate, I will assume that there are no immediate negative effects of transferring to San Junipero, and that the experience is very similar to being on Earth. As well, I will argue this from a completely secular perspective. As I had mentioned when first bringing up this thought experiment, a person who is either religious or spiritual will likely choose the traditional route. I will consider that, for the time being, the traditional afterlife is unknown. To understand the premise of my argument, let's ponder what I will call the existence timeline in San Junipero. First, we start with our hypothetical decision maker in life, who will decide to go to San Junipero after death. Now, like the episode expresses, the result of being in San Junipero is net positive. Sure, there are ups and downs in the episode, but Yorkie overall never changes her opinion because she gets to experience everything she didn't in life. In San Junipero, you get to spend time on all your hobbies, fulfill your relationship goals, and have all the experiences that were cut short on your time on Earth. It is literally man-made heaven forever. All your aspirations will be fulfilled eventually. How am I so sure of this? Well, let's look at a closer example. Let's take the gentleman from the episode that hits on Yorkie and fails. Let's pretend that his overall life goal is to get a girlfriend. Let's also say he has a very low chance of succeeding with any girl he asks out. If he tries one time, he probably won't succeed. If he has 10 chances, his odds get a bit higher. Since San Junipero is infinite, he has an infinite number of attempts to get a girlfriend. According to probability, that means he has eventual guaranteed success in fulfilling his life goal. The same could be said about any goal, since you have an infinite number of tries, time, and chances. You will eventually complete all your goals and aspirations while in San Junipero. Okay, so you keep trying and keep trying on every goal, hobby, relationship, and aspiration you have. Once you have done literally everything you wanted to do in San Junipero, what's next? Think about this. You are here forever. After everything is completely perfect in your afterlife, what do you do now? Currently, this is what our existence timeline for choosing San Junipero looks like, and I believe that having time after doing everything you want is exactly the problem with San Junipero. In the Netflix episode, we see that San Junipero has only been around for a few decades. This is not enough time to see the effects that existing forever will have on the residents. However, I argue that we do get to see the start of it, at a really weird place called the Quagmire. The Quagmire is the only place with excessive violence, sex, and drugs. I believe that the Quagmire is the next step for people who have done everything they wanted and are starting to get bored. I believe the people at the Quagmire are itching to feel anything, to get any sort of stimulus, no matter the cost, a lot like a last-ditch effort. And then what? After people go to the Quagmire, what becomes of them next? What becomes of them when nothing excites them, drives them, or makes them feel anything? People will eventually become completely miserable in San Junipero because of the unfathomable amount of time that is forever. This concept of eternal existence has been explored in multiple works of science fiction. In the NBC show The Good Place, they look into a heaven that becomes so boring and meaningless. The residents don't care about anything anymore, and are looking for any kind of stimulation to make them happy. Like many other shows, it argues that morality and death give life meaning and make it special. When people can live forever, living is no longer forever meaningful. And that is exactly the premise of my argument. While we see Yorkie and Kelly drive off and live in a perfect afterlife, I believe that this happiness and excitement is short-lived, pun intended. This is exactly the problem of San Junipero and why I believe it is better to face the unknown head-on. Let me know in the comments section if you agree or why you may disagree with this conclusion. I'm looking forward to hearing your response, and remember to get out there and make the most of the time you have.